As a kid, I watched a lot of cartoons on TV, but even as a dumbass preteen, I hated how all those episodic shows never actually progressed their plots. I wanted something different, something better, and that's when I stumbled into a channel called Animax that ran two shows in particular that captivated my interest. Those two were Naruto and Bleach. These two were the reason I became a fan of anime as a whole, so they hold a somewhat special place in my heart. Of the big three, I'm definitely a bigger fan of One Piece than those two now, but they still mean a lot to me. I have read Bleach like 6 times already, and I always thought it was great. But the general anime community very quickly lost all respect for Bleach, and a lot of it stemmed from what happened after the anime concluded. By the way, you can probably hear I'm kinda sick. I can't really do anything about it, so sorry about that. The One Piece anime is still ongoing, and it's clearly meant to continue till the end of the manga. And Naruto got all the way to the end of its main story, that Boruto Abomination is getting adapted as well. But Bleach, the anime of Bleach, just randomly stopped whole 200 chapters before the conclusion of the manga. And for a lot of people, this made Bleach look inferior to the other two. As for those of us that stuck with the manga, we got a final arc that was both very, very long, but also clearly not long enough. 200 chapters is longer than any arc in One Piece, so calling it short is a stretch, but there are insane amounts of characters in this arc, and a lot of them, including Kurosaki Ichigo, our main character, just didn't get enough screen time. A lot of fights were off-screened. A lot of characters like Shinji, Naliel, or Soifon literally did nothing for a whole arc. Hell, two of the vice captains that ended up promoted after the war, Iba and Lisa, never done anything in the whole story, and somehow they ended up as captains. As for the Stern Ritter, while most of them, obviously excluding the three that got killed by Kenpachi off screen and whatnot, but most of them got a fair amount of screen time, but only a few of them got an actual flashback, a backstory, or whatever. So we never really learned why like 90% of them were even here. I probably don't have to talk about the ending all that much. It's the other thing that essentially ruined Bleach's reputation. It was rushed, that's unquestionable. Kubo had Kubo had health issues, and he just wanted to end the manga already, and it shows. The final fight itself was short and lacked information about a few things, including Ichigo's new Bankai. But the bigger problem is that we just didn't get to see the aftermath of the war. It's the ending is really abrupt. Basically, Yua is defeated, and then we cut to a scene years later, and it's like a chapter, and that's the end of Bleach. Uh, in the manga, anyways, that's the Can't Feel Your Own Word light novel series. That's not really canon, but the fandom considers it pseudo canon, and it has post-war stuff. There's also that No Breath from Hell chapter. Basically, Kubo made one new chapter years later, and it takes place about a decade after the war, and it's actually exactly 12 years after the war, because there's a festival that takes place 12 years after the death of captains. Whatever, the point is, there are stuff after the war, but the actual Thousand Year Blood War arc really didn't give us the aftermath. We are obviously getting a 1000-year Blood War anime in the 4th season, and they have confirmed new content written by Kubo himself. Uh, there is a good 350 chapters worth of content in these 200 chapters if they are willing to drastically expand on it. And they can even adapt the Canfirio onward novels if they wanted to. The question is, do they even care? Studio Pierrot is the studio behind Naruto and Bleach, and those two animes were really good, except the filler. But in the last few years, they have done many things to make me distrust them. The first one was obviously the cancellation of Bleach, but there were other things like the absolute butchering of Tokyo Ghoul, or the disastrous first few dozen episodes of Black Clover. By the way, I like Black Clover, and the anime did get somewhat better, but it's absolutely an inferior experience to the manga all the way through. The trailers they showed only made me more afraid, because they really shied away from showing anything remotely hard to animate. The second trailer was unironically just a fancy looking character list. I suppose we will have to wait for the actual release. I hope this will show people that Bleach indeed deserved the fame it once had, and it's not an inferior thing that should have never been part of the big three like some idiots claim. But we will have to wait and see. I was Tatu, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.